Thank you for being here today. This series is intended to inspire creativity, celebrate real life composers like Donna here today, doing great things in the world of modern music and composition, and hopefully bring to life the music that you all play at home or teach alongside your students. So today's guest here is Donna Mitchell. She's a composer and an arranger with a bachelor's of music in theory and composition. She's also a loved mom, a grandma, piano teacher, amateur photographer, blogger, and fellow encouraging YouTuber. And so it's great to have you here today, Donna.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Such an honor. So I'll just tell our audience here today that I first came across your music teaching and your composition in groups online, a Facebook group, when you shared your advanced piano arrangement of Once Upon a December. I loved the piece immediately, and your arrangement of it really shone. And I observed these beautifully graceful hands on the keys that looked like they'd lived so much life and had stories to tell. And I was just so intrigued by that and inspired by the video. I actually watched it a couple times and even showed my husband and said, Jeff, you got to look at this video. It's so beautiful. And that was the beginning of a friendship that started online. And this is our first time seeing each other in real
Yes,
life. So that's
I'm really happy about that.
yeah, me too. We can have
See
our
one of
I don't know if you brought a drink today or not. I didn't
um,
make my second coffee.
I have some tea in the refrigerator.
Yeah, exactly. I brought this little mug. It says Little Miss Sunshine, and I actually made lemonade with the kids. So today is
Oh, okay.
lemonade with creatives. Uh,
I really don't drink coffee, but I'm a tea drinker. So,
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, tea drinkers are also welcome. So I've loved observing your beautiful consistency and incredibly detailed compositions and your artistic visual flair that you add to each of your videos on your two YouTube channels. And you also have a special gift as an encourager in online spaces and are a keen observer and supporter of others. So to help our listeners get to know you better, how would you describe yourself as youthful Donna learning and practicing the piano?
now my first instrument wasn't piano, it was clarinet. That was because it was available. There was a music man that came to our door selling instruments, and he said, "Here, try this flute." And I tried it and I couldn't get a sound out of it. So he said, "No, forget the flute, just try clarinet." So I made a big toot on the clarinet, and the next thing I knew, mom and dad bought me a clarinet.
Oh my goodness, the rest
And,
was
even though I wanted to play the piano because we had this old beat up piano on the
Mhm.
porch that was in a porch that wasn't heated, so it was in really bad condition. But I used to tinker on it and I wanted to play so bad. But when we moved, that old piano got trashed.
Oh dear.
No piano to learn on, so I had to console myself with a clarinet. I loved clarinet, but it still wasn't the thing I really wanted to do. So I played clarinet for years in band, throughout my grade school years and high school and marching band and orchestra. But at the back of my mind, I kept thinking, I want to play the piano. My parents knew it, but I didn't push it because I knew it was, costly to buy one. But they surprised me with a piano at Christmas time when I was in my junior year. I came home and there was a piano, brand new, in our living room.
Oh my goodness.
And I started lessons that January and started learning. So I had a lot of catching up to do.
Wow.
Friends were already playing stuff, and I was like playing little tiny songs. But I learned fast because I practiced hard.
Yeah. That's so special to hear another composer that started on different instruments. Tony
Yeah,
was just saying that too in our live stream that he was learning all these different band instruments, but also just thought, hey, I want to play the piano. And I love that
right.
you wanted to. And what a special surprise. And we actually share that later learner. So, how old were you when that piano arrived as a fun surprise?
I was just under 17, so that's kind of late start. But I started lessons right away. So that the end of that school year and my next senior year, I took lessons. Then I continued on with a teacher at college. I wasn't my music major then, and then got married, started having kids, and you know what that's like. Practice time is kind of put aside, but I did find a teacher after I had two boys, two little guys. My husband would watch the boys while I went and took lessons. Started continuing the studies that way, and practiced late at night when they were sleeping.
Yes.
And you know, after that, I had a big family, 5 children, homeschooling, and pretty busy with that for years and years, and taught my kids how to play the piano and a few others along the way.
Yeah.
Um, I played for church too, so I that was an outlet for my piano playing. And I found another teacher and another, you know, and I just kept, you know, trying to improve my skills that way.
Kept learning and growing. Oh, that's so beautiful, Donna. And you're a very accomplished pianist too. And I know you've also recovered from an injury, but still play with these amazing pieces. So that's incredible that you started later in life. Like you say, 17, still youthful, but for piano players, for those listening in, you know that many start, you know, at 6 or 7 years old. So I think your story is
Right.
also really hopeful because a lot of times adults have that same desire. They think, oh, I wish I had learned. And we sometimes perceive that, you know, our learning years are over once we've passed those elementary school years on an instrument. But I love that you're against all odds, just like a beautiful pianist starting later in life. So that's really
Mhm.
special. So we'd love to hear in the comments if you're already creating music, whether you're a songwriter, a composer, or improviser who love playing with sounds on the instrument. And Donna, although you have many beautiful originals, I'm also drawn to your incredible library of thoughtfully created arrangements of other tunes, including classics, Disney, anime films, folk tunes, and sacred pieces. How do you start that process of creating an arrangement? How does that start for you?
For arrangements, I just start researching, you know,
Yeah.
what's out there, what would be a good arrangement to do, popular tunes, of course, Disney and stuff like that. So I have to do a little research, think about who it's going to be for. Is it going to be for a student? Is it going to be for an adult? What level should I write it for? And what type, you know, what am I trying to put across the style as far as classic or popular? And so I do that first, and I start looking into those different things, and I watch a lot of, you know, videos
Mhm.
concerning that type of music. Like when I did Once Upon a December, I think I went in and looked at all the ones I could find, you know, and see what they sounded like and what I liked about it, what I didn't like, and then I start going through and finding some video clips that might go with it, you know, getting ideas that way and kind of formulate an idea of what I want it to sound like. And then the next step I do is usually find an arrangement that I can work off real simple. The simpler the better. That way I can get into it, the ideas that I want to share, and start with that and go to the piano and start improvising. That's usually the big thing, improvising on some simple arrangement that I found. And then I just start putting in maybe the introduction first and then filling in some chords. And it's kind of skeletal until I start putting in more and more. Sometimes I get carried away. And right, it's like I'm improvising and I do a whole run. I'm going, wait a minute, I don't know if that's going to work. You know, it's kind of long, it's complicated. I got to figure out what am I doing here because, you know, my fingers travel a lot faster than my brain.
I
they
love
just they just take off, and I'm going, wait, what is that? So I just have to figure out, you know, well, that run, what was it? Was it 16th notes, 32nd, or whatever? And it's tricky when you're writing it down because you got to figure it all out. So I just go through that process really slowly and try to make sure that, you know, I'm using good rhythm sense and good theory. So I finally come up with an arrangement that is acceptable and that I can play because, you know, sometimes you write things that are just really out of your reach and that's too crazy. Plus, you have to consider someone else has got to play it.
Mhm.
There are a lot of pianists out there. I feel like you need to find a kind of middle of the road,
Yeah.
you know, average piano player that's going to want to buy the sheet music because they can play it. You can go online and find all kinds of crazy hard stuff that's been written by computers, maybe, I'm not sure. And you're thinking, I cannot play that. There's no way.
Yeah.
So try to make it so it fits the hand right. The runs and fill-ins got to feel graceful and not awkward. So I work those out so they feel natural. So I'm going through that. I toss out the ideas that don't feel right to me, which probably maybe to someone else would feel right. I don't know, but I end up coming up with something that really feels good.
Yeah.
Sounds nice too.
Oh, that's so special, and I love that this series really brings out that everyone has that different compositional process, and it's interesting in reading some of your sheet music. I know I've read your beautiful arrangement of How Great Thou Art, as well as Winterlude, and I have Once Upon a December and Danny Boy, and there's some different name titles in there for those arrangements. But it really shines how much care and detail you put into your arrangements. I can really,
Thank you.
as I'm starting to consume more and more music and play so much more, I'm just seeing those different compositional and arranging styles really shine through. So I love the thoughtfulness that you put into your arrangements. It really shows. You also have a YouTube channel. You're sharing beautiful, beautiful videos, and I love that you're looking at the visual aspect and thinking about that as you're creating these. So before we leap into the whole more questions here, our listeners today may love to know how they can best cheer on the work that you're doing. So I'll just tell them right away, if you get a moment, if Donna's music, you're curious about it, you can subscribe to her YouTube channels, and I'll link that in the video description today. And that's always a special boost for creators that are doing great things in the world of music. Is it on your website as well as Sheet Music Plus?
I do not have a website, but I sell my sheet music through Sheet Music Direct
Yeah.
and Sheet Music Plus.
Perfect. So I'll link those, and I'll link some of my favorites too that I know the
Okay.
audience will love to learn. And I love that you thought of that aspect of the level of pieces too, because it is something that we see a lot now as piano teachers, and Donna's also a fellow piano teacher, that there often is arrangements that actually are computer generated and they are being played by a MIDI, which is fabulous to have technology at our fingertips, and we really admire that. However, Donna touched on a point of that it should be playable. And so that's beautiful when you're buying music from an actual composer that's sitting there and working out these special details. That's why it's so worth it to purchase these beautiful arrangements, because it fits well under your fingers. So
Yes.
Donna, I had the unique privilege of playing one of your special originals called Winterlude, and I was so impressed by all the subtle musical details. There was this sparkling moments for technique to shine through, and so much rich musical imagery throughout the piece. So when you create an original composition, does it start in a similar way to the arrangements, or do you ponder compositional techniques that you'd love to include, or is that all in your ears? So how does that start when it's an original?
Oh, it's a little different with original, but I still start out with the thought, is this going to be for a certain level?
Mm.
Then I can write accordingly how difficult I want to make it. And I think about also what I'm trying to project in the composition, because I feel like my originals are very programmatic,
Mhm.
trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
And I like to use a lot of motifs that have a little bit of, well, at least create imagery, like snow falling and rivers rushing, brooks babbling, that kind of thing. So I try to think about what I'm trying to get across with the original. If it's something that's, a standard genre, like, if I write a jig or a waltz or maybe a tango, then I do a little research to make sure I've got the information right of type of music it is, because you have to follow that set. But if it's just, something that I enjoy doing the most is probably just something like a new age style where you just sit down and you improv. You sit down and you start noodling around with a key signature and you say, that's a good key signature. Or I think I'll stay there, and it just kind of evolves more or less. That type does. But I do have, a title in mind. The title helps me kind of stay close to what I'm trying to do with the idea and the mood of the song, so that I do get that picture across, and they have, you can see the images of what I'm trying to do.
I love that you start with a title, and not everyone does that. I think that really is part of who you are, is a very visual person and visual imagery as a photographer too. And now you're doing all this beautiful video editing. I know that's a steep curve, but that obviously plays into your composition, that aspect of the visual. And I too love that thought. Like I think it brings apart or brings up lots of creativity when you're thinking, okay, if it's a winter day, what's it going to feel like? What are sounds that would make it feel like you said snow
Mm-hmm.
falling or slick ice? Or there's so much imagery that you can play with there. So that's really neat. As an amateur photographer as well, I see that aspect of a visual artist in your YouTube channel with each video. I'm personally in awe of what you're producing. And I know the learning curve must be so steep to coordinate all that. So, if our listeners today are thinking about creating music with visuals, what type of tools do you use to create your beautiful videos? And I know there's many behind the scenes.
Well, I go into all the free apps first. Like you can go to Pexels and find lots of video clips, and Canva has them too. So there I find things that I can use. And that sometimes spurs my imagination too, just watching some of the clips and think, oh, that would make a really good composition, backdrop. So that helps a lot. And then, of course, you have to learn how to use some of the different programs and apps that are out there. There's so many free ones. And I tried a number of different things. I can't remember all the names of them, downloaded them, tried them, and they were very difficult to learn, almost impossible without some kind of help.
Yeah.
So I tried DaVinci Resolve, which I love, and did a lot of watching YouTube tutorials to figure out how to do it, and then just toyed around with it quite a bit, and I learned. It was a process very slowly, but that, and I used Ableton Live too, which is the audio workstation for changing out the sound. So I have a digital piano, and so I record my music on there, either as a MIDI file or an audio file. If it's a MIDI file, then I take it into Ableton Live and change out the sound to a little bit better sound sometimes. Where I use that, and then DaVinci Resolve, I take it into DaVinci and then I, render that after I've got all my clips in there. And of course, I've learned a lot about how to do clips and what to do with them. And I guess that's the fun of it, because that to me is really the enjoyable part of the whole process, because I could sit down on the couch with my laptop and just, start fooling around with these little images, scooting them around like, yeah, this will be good over here, and oh, this one doesn't quite work. It's like an art. So I have so much fun with that. After all the hard stuff has been done, like writing the music, editing, getting it, so it's pretty decent to play, and then practicing it, then recording it in some fashion, either overhead or with another camera.
Yeah.
And then taking all that information as a video file and then your audio file, which are separate, put them into the program and then, kind of work them together. And so it's a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's so special. And I think for listeners too, it just gives us a reminder of what actually happens behind a song that you hear of a creative composer doing these special works behind the scenes. And we sometimes forget that you don't just, press play and suddenly be able to play this composition. Like there's hours and hours of beautifully detailed work. And truly a labor of love behind each of those arrangements. So I love to chat about how we can support composers, and you'll hear this me speaking it out often. We talked about subscribing to their channels, like Donna's. If you're really interested in their music, that's valuable. And then purchasing sheet music from their sheet music shops. It's very reasonable when you start looking at the cost of a sheet music versus how much labor and love is in it. You will be definitely excited to purchase it. And then I also love those invisible free ways to support a composer is also, commenting mindfully on a video when you appreciate it, or writing a review. If you get a piece of music and you love it, then it's nice to go back to where you purchased it from and leave a review, because that helps other people to know if that's something they want to purchase. So I always think there's more ways to support composers that are a neat variety of ways. So I know that life as a creative doesn't always have that traditional office hours. And I know a little bit about Donna's habits with that. But when do you find creativity comes with the most ease for you?
Probably late at night. I think you know that, Amy. We've been up late at night chatting on Messenger, uh, between working at the computer, little chats here and there. So, I'm a late night person, and I get a lot done that way. There are times, though, during the day when I have to do the recording because I like natural daylight. So, in between teaching, I might have a moment to do a little bit of recording. If not during that time, I, have my days off. I teach 4 days a week, and the other days off, I can get to the camera and to the piano and do some recording that way, and then save it,
Yeah.
put it on my computer, and then at night I get my little files out. I start organizing them in DaVinci, and that's when I have a lot of fun
Yeah.
at night. So, and the other thing is, I just enjoy YouTubing. I'm having so much fun, and I like watching other people's material and their channels. So I go to those and I visit. I like to comment, and I have probably, I don't know how many subscriptions now
Yeah. Oh,
that I try to keep up with.
yeah.
It's not easy, but it's so enjoyable. I just want to say too that at my age, I'm not young, of course. So I started a YouTube channel 18 months ago. So it's never too late to do the things that you dream of doing. And anyone out there, don't let anything stop you from being creative, whether it be YouTube channel, whether it be improvising, creating arrangements, writing your own compositions, learning the piano better. There's no age to start or begin or end. It's all, something, a journey that we all take. And I didn't earn my music theory and composition degree till it was 2011. So I was able to go back to school and do something I dreamt of doing many, many years ago. I went to college, but it wasn't music, and I really wanted to learn to become a good bona fide composer, even though I was already writing music and arranging it for church. But I was able to get a scholarship for 50% off on my 3 year courses that I took, and earned my degree. And I was probably one of the oldest students there at that time. And what the funny story is, I have 3 daughters, and all 4 of us were going to Eastern Kentucky University at the same time.
Oh, I love that so
And
much.
so they didn't say, "Mom, let's go to lunch." They say, "Donna, let's go to lunch." I was like the older sister to them.
Yeah.
We had such a good time, but I'm just telling this to people to realize you don't have to be limited by your age, whether you're young or older, in between. You can go out there and do what you want to do, and don't let anything stop you. Just go for it, and you can enjoy the creative process.
Oh, that's so beautiful and encouraging, Dawn. I love that you've become kind of a mentor to me. And I just think what a beautiful thing that there isn't an expiry date on learning music or
Yeah.
learning other things. And I think you're modeling that in such beautiful, gracious ways. And I love that it's life giving for you, because I know what hard work it is, but it's so beautiful that that's also something that brings you joy to be able to create. And I love that we're fellow night owls, because I think I often think better at night, and that's been my whole
Me
life.
too.
When things calm down, I can actually find a bit of focus and dive deeper into something. So even though I do specks of things throughout the day, I find my groove at night. Although I must say, my kids are young and they don't sleep very much right now, so I don't have as much stamina in
No.
things.
Yeah.
Too. Well, Donna, today with you was a sweet gift, and I truly appreciate the glimpse into your world as a creative. I didn't add this question, but I thought before we leave off, do you have a favorite arrangement or composition that you've written? Like, which one would you think of if you thought, like, I had, yeah, a favorite?
I would say my favorite is Primero. It's what I wrote when I was earning my degree. It was one of my first originals. A lot of arranging before that, and I felt like that was where I started, really writing an original. And
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
more advanced, so I do have an old video of it, of me playing it for my senior recital. So it's there, but it's my favorite. And I really like to redo it. I probably will here in the future. It's my favorite.
oh, that's beautiful. And I love that creating music probably does this for you. I know for me, even music I've played in the past kind of captures like a scrapbook of my life. Like I can think of
Yes.
pieces that I played and what was happening in my life surrounding that. So I love that that one has some nostalgia for you of like your first major original and such a victory in your life to come back after raising kids and seeing them start into new programs, but also being a pivotal moment in your life of just
Mhm.
like doing something that you'd really wanted to do. And I've loved that video. I watched it, I was like, oh my goodness, she's such a sparkling pianist, and I love
Oh,
hearing
not really.
you really are. You've got just a beautiful gift for music, and it's been
Thank you.
a joy to watch that develop. And I love seeing the progress too in your videos and the new elements that you're bringing in. So, thank you to our listeners today as well for being in our virtual living rooms here. You can see I'm in my little closet studio space, and Donna's in her little corner of the world making music. Yeah, there she is.
There's the messy part.
Yeah, and I love that you got computers and keyboards, and you are leading the way, learning all these new tools that even as a younger musician, they're big. So it just is a testament to your diligence in exploring new things and your willingness to keep learning through life. So I think that's a beautiful
Right.
example. So thanks to our listeners. You can make sure to subscribe to Donna's channels
Yes,
today,
please
and
do.
you can give a like to this video if you think you'd love to let others know about what's happening here with Coffee with Creatives or Lemonade like today. So thanks
And
for joining.
thank you, Amy, for your support and your friendship. It means a lot to me. Really appreciate it. And you did say another favorite song, Winterlude, because it reminds me of you.
Oh, thank you. I know that one's so special to me too.
Me too.
I can't wait for December when I can start
I
getting to
know.
those winter fields. So,
All
oh,
right.
great. Well, thanks again. We'll see everyone in the next live stream or premiere video of Coffee with Creatives, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.